There are houses so large they echo even when no one speaks. The Rahman estate was one of them. Set on a hill above the city, its walls were carved from pale stone that glowed gold at sunrise. The gates opened with a whisper. The gardens bloomed year-round. Water flowed endlessly through marble fountains, shaped to resemble blessings frozen in motion. Inside the house lived Karim Rahman, a man whose name opened doors across continents. Shipping lines, tech investments, philanthropic foundations with his surname engraved in steel and glass. He had wealth that crossed borders easily, power that bent rooms before he entered them. And yet, every evening at exactly 7, Karim sat alone in the West Wing, staring at a small boy who never looked up when he spoke. His son Amir was 9 years old. Amir did not hear his father's voice. He did not hear the call to prayer drifting from the city below. He did not hear laughter, music, or thunder. He lived in a world of silence. Doctors had given Karim the language of certainty. Congenital, profound, irreversible. They spoke gently, respectfully, as one speaks to powerful men who are still, somehow, helpless. Karim listened. He nodded. He paid. He paid for the best hospitals in Europe. He paid for experimental programs in East Asia. He paid for consultations with specialists who flew in private jets and left behind polished reports full of words like permanent and adaptation and acceptance. But Karim Rahman had never built an empire by accepting limits. If something was broken, he fixed it. If something stood in his way, he removed it. Accept this. Amir sat at the long dining table each night, carefully arranging his food into neat patterns. He never spoke. He never looked startled when doors slammed. He never turned his head when his name was called. And sometimes, only sometimes, he pressed his palm against the side of his head and frowned, as if something inside him ached in a way he did not know how to explain. Karim noticed. He noticed everything. But noticing, it turned out, was not the same as understanding. When Amina arrived at the Rahman estate, she carried everything she owned in one small bag. She was 32, quiet, unremarkable to most eyes. Her accent carried traces of many places, years spent moving between relatives, borders, seasons of work. She had learned early how to become invisible when necessary. Invisible people, she knew, survived longer. The agency sent her as a domestic helper, cleaning, laundry, assisting in the kitchens. Nothing more. Mrs. D'Souza, the house manager, gave her the rules on the first day. Do your work. Keep your head down. Do not speak unless spoken to. And under no circumstances are you to interfere with the child. Amina nodded. She always nodded. But she noticed things too. She noticed how silence settled differently around Amir, thicker than elsewhere. She noticed how the other staff avoided his wing, as if silence itself were contagious. She noticed how the boy watched the world with a patience that felt too old for his age. And she noticed the way he touched his left ear, not constantly, not dramatically, but often enough that it lingered in her mind. Amina had grown up in a village where listening was survival, where elders said, the body speaks before the mouth learns how. She cleaned Amir's room twice a week. He never acknowledged her at first. He sat by the window, drawing the same image over and over again, a small house, a wide sky, a single tree. One afternoon, as she vacuumed quietly, a pencil rolled off his desk and onto the floor near her feet. Amina picked it up and placed it back gently. Amir looked at her. It was the first time their eyes met. He studied her face, not with curiosity, but with something closer to caution, as if measuring whether she was safe. She placed her hand over her heart and gave a small bow, a gesture she remembered from her grandmother. Respect without intrusion. Amir hesitated, then mirrored the motion clumsily. From that day on, he did not look away when she entered the room. Weeks passed. Karim noticed the smallest change first. Amir began to wait for Amina on the days she cleaned his room. He would sit by the door, drawing, pausing whenever footsteps passed. Karim did not like unpredictability. He summoned Mrs. D'Souza. The boy seems attached, he said carefully. She is quiet. Respectful, Mrs. D'Souza replied. She does her work. Karim waved it off. There were bigger things to worry about. Investors, boards, a new hospital wing in his late wife's name. But one evening, as Karim watched Amir line up stones in the garden, he noticed his son wince suddenly, pressing his hand hard against his ear. Karim rushed to him, kneeling, speaking urgently, though he knew his words would not be heard. Amir's breathing quickened. Tears welled, soundless. Doctors were called. Tests were run again. The conclusion remained unchanged. Sometimes, one specialist said, children with profound deafness experience phantom discomfort. The brain's searching for signals that will never come. Kareem thanked him, paid him, let him go. That night, Amina found Amir curled up on the floor of his room, shaking silently. She knelt beside him. Slowly, carefully, she gestured, "May I?" Amir hesitated, then nodded. She did not touch his ear at first. She only sat with him until his breathing slowed. In her culture, presence came before action. When she finally leaned closer, she saw something that made her heart tighten. Deep inside his ear canal there was a shadow. Dark, irregular, not something she had seen in healthy ears before. She remembered her younger brother years ago, back home. Everyone thought he was cursed, deaf, unreachable, until a visiting nurse removed a hardened mass that had been lodged since infancy. The boy had cried when sound flooded in, then laughed for days. Amina's hands trembled. She was not a doctor. She was not trained. And this was the son of a powerful man. She said nothing. That night, she prayed. Not for courage, for wisdom. The pain returned 3 days later. Amir collapsed in the garden, clutching his ear, his small body folding in on itself. Staff rushed to call Kareem. Amina knelt beside Amir, catching his eye. He shook his head frantically when she gestured toward the house. No more doctors. Tears streamed down his face. Something in Amina broke open. In every culture she had lived among, there was a saying in different words, but the same meaning. When authority fails, responsibility passes to whoever is present. That evening, while Kareem attended a diplomatic dinner across the city, Amina made a decision that would change all their lives. She sterilized a small pair of tweezers the way her grandmother had taught her. Slowly, carefully, with reverence, she sat Amir down, holding his hands, letting him see her calm. She touched her chest. "I am here." Amir nodded. She leaned in. There was resistance, fear, then a subtle give. The obstruction came free with a soft, almost imperceptible release. Amir stiffened, then froze. His eyes widened. A sound escaped his mouth, not a word, not a scream. Just breath shaped by surprise. He looked at Amina, pointing to the open window. The wind moved the curtains. Amir laughed. A sound filled the room that had never existed there before. Footsteps thundered down the hall. Kareem had returned early. He took in the scene in a single glance. Blood on Amina's hands, his son laughing, chaos rewritten into something he did not understand. Security moved. Kareem raised his hand. "Wait." Amir turned toward his father. "Baba," he said haltingly, "I hear you." Kareem Rahman collapsed to his knees. The hospital confirmed it the next morning. A long-standing blockage, missed in scans, assumed irrelevant because of assumptions layered upon assumptions. One doctor could not meet Kareem's eyes. This should have been addressed years ago. Kareem felt something unfamiliar rise in his chest. Not anger, shame. He returned to the estate and dismissed everyone from the room except Amina. She stood with her head bowed, ready for judgment. Kareem spoke quietly. "You saved my son." Amina shook her head. "I listened." Kareem looked at her then, not as staff, not as invisible labor, but as a human being whose attention had outweighed his fortune. He offered her money, a position, a future. Amina accepted only what allowed her dignity. Amir, now discovering sound piece by piece, followed her everywhere. Weeks later, as the call to prayer floated through the gardens, Amir closed his eyes and smiled. Kareem watched his son and finally understood. He had built everything. But compassion, real compassion, had been built for him. And sometimes the greatest miracles do not come from power. They come from those who choose to see.